They've created an artificial atmosphere based on the exact ratio of gases we need to breathe. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.93% argon, 0.04% carbon dioxide. They will recognize that as us.
DMA plus us equals terror. I will code and send it. Oh, we are receiving a new message already. They have sent us a greater than symbol and a sadness hydrocarbon.
Great sadness.
It means they understand. And it means they have empathy. And if they have empathy for us, diplomacy can work.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts, and with me is Johnson, our co-host. How's it going, Johnson?
Hey, Mike. I'm doing all right today. Was a bit of a cluster, but, I'm here. I'm recording. I'm here. I'm ready to talk about Star Trek.
All right. That's good.
What about you? You're surviving.
I'm surviving, yes. I am. I have the flu, so
I know that's suboptimal.
Yes, it's just a mild case, but it's annoying, and so my energy
I feel like you've been dying all day, though.
Yes, today's been a rougher day. I don't know why. Yesterday I thought I was kind of licking it, and today it came back with a vengeance. So but I am here. I'm ready to talk about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. And we're always ready to talk about Star Trek.
We are, yes. But we are going to keep this one on the shorter side.
We always say that, and it ends up being like an hour 20. So
yeah.
And we have 2 episodes to talk about.
Right. Well, we'll get into that in a moment. Because, I'm going to let you talk a lot about Picard because I talked a lot about Picard on Discovering Trek Picard. So
it's still going to be a conversation. I'm not going to go into a soliloquy about Picard.
Of course not. Of course. I will share my thoughts here as well. Of course.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to share new thoughts, different thoughts than what you shared on.
Oh my gosh. I can't come up with new thoughts today. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I can't come up with new thoughts today. I'm lucky I'm thinking at all.
Wow. I'm just telling you what I expect out of you.
I'm sure that there will be something that you will say that I will disagree with, and therefore will speak up.
Which never fucking happens.
Never happens on this podcast.
Never.
Us
ever.
Disagreeing, never.
Never.
But shall we talk some Star Trek news?
Sure, let's go.
Because it's all over the internets, and I have been on Twitter a little bit today as well. And so Paul Wesley has been announced as playing James T. Kirk in Strange New Worlds Season 2, which they're currently recording in Toronto, which I had no idea about. But again, I'm not on Twitter very often, so I would not have known that. But news broke yesterday.
So are they actively recording, or is that kind of more like a promo? Because
they're actively recording.
Okay.
Yeah, they're into season 2 already. So
okay.
But all of the all the trolls on the internet have already come out of hiding all over this. Well,
let me ask you, how do you feel about that?
I'm
not asking about your feelings about Paul Wesley, which we'll get to in a minute. How do you feel about us being introduced to James T. Kirk in season 2?
I'm fine with it. It doesn't really, it doesn't really bother me all that much. I am a little bothered by the fact that according to photos, and I'm not sure if this is how accurate this is. They're saying he's captain. So that's the only piece of this that I don't really agree with, per se.
Do we know
Is
much
that
about,
he's,
and being a TOS, or rather a non-TOS fan, do we get much in terms of the background of Kirk before his captaincy on the Enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, there's the Farragut. He served on the Farragut. That was a big
That's
moment
familiar.
in his. Yeah, I can't think of the episode because I'm not an encyclopedia of TOS knowledge, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
Farragut. My understanding was that this was his first command as captain when he took over the Enterprise. But I'm game for whatever. I'm sure that there are loopholes and there are things that can be taken differently, or it was never canon per se.
Yeah, because
But
he basically this is happening. Strange New Worlds is basically happening. What, like, is it 7 years before TOS? Is that around the timeline?
I
Does that
think,
sound
yeah, I
right?
think that's 6 years around. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Because
Five,
I mean,
maybe at this
Kirk's.
point it's 5, but
You think so? Yeah, I feel I've heard around it's like 6 or 7 years before the event of TOS. So he would just be already, he'd be a really young captain if in season 2 we're introduced to him as a captain already. It just feels a little bit early, especially
yeah,
if
I'm really.
Uhura is still a cadet, technically, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, the timeline is unsure, what we're seeing. I also my thought is that maybe he's a commander, and that would be an okay, place to kind of put
Mm,
him as a first officer on a ship.
yeah.
Uh, so it's fine. I understand that they had to do this because set photos leaked. So that's the main reason that this came out. I'm disappointed that that happened because I think that giving Strange New Worlds a little bit of time to get its space legs and
I
come
know. I
out.
was just like, yeah, season 1 hasn't even started yet, and we're already getting
Yeah,
this major news about season 2. It feels a little bit premature, and it sounds like it was premature in that it was a leak.
yeah. I think
But I, I,
somehow.
I personally do think that it is a little bit early to introduce Kirk. I would expect maybe a few more seasons down the line just to kind of tease it out a little bit more and give this crew a little bit more time to gel and to really stand on their own before introducing such a big tempo character. And it's
Yeah,
almost like
I agree.
it's almost like a bit of a distraction. Because the thing is, like, in Discovery for season 2, we always got Pike, but Pike is really not a known entity. He's not such a big tempo entity as Kirk is. We've seen him because in the original series, we really see him once in the menagerie. That's it. And then there's obviously the
Right.
cage, but that never airs. So there's a lot that we don't know about Pike. So you can build all this mythology around him versus Kirk, which is he's like a Jupiter like planet, with a lot of gravity. So I just feel that it's a little premature personally. I don't mind that they're introducing him, but I'm also like, they could have waited a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I think when set photos leak, you got to do something, and they took command of the storyline and wanted to announce it.
Sure.
So again, we know that Paramount is not the best at a lot of things, including marketing. So they did what they had to do, and that's what they did. So, but we're still. I mean, I'm still. I think you are too. We're still really excited about
Yeah.
Strange New
Yeah.
Worlds.
Wait, but what do you think about Paul Wesley? Did you ever watch Vampire Diaries?
Yes, I actually liked him before that. I forget
Oh,
his
really?
whole. Yeah, I think he's a great actor. He's hot.
He's
I've always
hot.
had.
He's
He,
hot.
I mean,
I got a
I've
lot
always
of
had
him
a.
in Vampire Diaries, so I feel over the course of years, I was less into him. But when he was first introduced on Vampire Diaries, I was like, oh my god, he's hot.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
really
I
into him.
didn't watch Vampire Diaries a
So
lot,
good.
but
So good. It's a
or I
really
don't
good show.
remember it
It's a
if I did.
CW show, but
Yes,
honestly,
it is
the
a.
first season or two of Vampire Diaries is spellbinding. It's so good.
Yeah. I think I did end up watching the finale, so I did have some stake in it at some point. Maybe I skipped a season or two, but yeah, no, he was in other things that I found him attractive in, and just really, So
He's
and
a
the set
good-looking
photos and
man.
the promo photos of him, he fits the part. I'm sure I'm sure they interviewed a lot of people just like they did for Ethan Peck and Spock. So yeah, uh, that's fine with me. And if so we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I was actually very surprised when that news broke, but he looks good in the role. So
yeah,
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I really like the teaser. I think it's on a good track. We'll see what happens.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so that's the big news of the week. The other big news, obviously, is that the Discovery finale, season 4 finale, is tomorrow.
I don't know if that's news.
Well, it's
something.
an event. It's an event.
It's not nothing. I don't know if it's news.
But let's talk a little bit about episode 12, Species 10C.
Hey, why exactly did you team up with that guy? He seems a couple of cherries short of this Sunday.
He lost someone. Made a vow to get back to him. I respect that. My mentor Cleveland Book used to say the measure of someone is in how they honor their promises.
You share a name with someone? It's not confusing at all.
It's not called Book anymore. In the courier world, trust is everything. Trust that someone will do the job you paid them for, not rip you off or sell you out. The name Cleveland Booker earned trust for generations, passed from one to another. Mine was the fourth in the line. When he retired, he gave his name and his clients to me. I became the fifth.
You think he'd approve of Tarka?
I think he'd understand him.
After 12 episodes, we finally get to meet the cause of everything that we have endured this season 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Johnson, what did you think? Did you think that this episode was a worthy payoff of this Species 10C?
No, I don't think so. I mean, first of all, my prediction last week came true, to the shock, I think, no one, that, of course, Tarka messes everything up just as they are about to make some sort of breakthrough. Shocking. I just thought that the problem, right, in this episode is that you have people that are too smart, and then you have people that are too dumb. This is my issue. So you have people that basically figure out an alien language, so alien, it's like it takes 10 minutes for them to really figure out how this species communicates, if you think about it. And it definitely had a lot of, I mentioned this to you, but you hadn't watched the episode yet. It had a lot of tones from Arrival, one of my favorite sci-fi movies, which does the whole learning an alien language thing really well. And it takes time. It takes a lot of trial and error, miscommunication, and you see this effect that it has on the people trying to understand how to communicate, and the frustration comes with it. I understand that this is one episode of Star Trek, but this is what we were talking about last week, where I feel if they introduced Species 10C earlier, they could have gone through the impact of first contact, trying to understand an alien species as to how they think and communicate in a much deeper level, and the way that it could impact the people in that process, versus literally they had a 5-minute brainstorm and they kind of figured it out, which I thought was just completely unrealistic, and kind of just, in my mind, it kind of really stole the suspense out of this first contact situation. And if we were to compare this with another similar kind of episode, which is Darmok, where you encounter a species where the way they communicate is so forward and so different that it's completely indecipherable, that put a lot of personal stakes. You had Picard and Darmok really trying to get to know each other on a personal level, despite their lack of ability to communicate with each other. But that's what made us work so well. Versus this, it was like the emotional investment in the first contact situation is just lost. There's really no emotional investment. I did like there's a little bit of science-iness to it. Sometimes that I enjoy that kind of shit, but I don't know. It's just like literally it's not in like 5-10 minutes. I was just kind of like, whatever. And then you have the really stupid things going on, like all the Tarka shit, and then Nadoye, is that her name? Am I saying her name correctly? The Earth.
Yes.
The colonel?
The Earth Commander, Earth Colonel, or whatever. Yeah.
Just like these like really just like dubious decisions and decision making processes. Like I'm just like Nadoye literally like she has doubts for like 1 second, like, oh, I'm kind of portraying them. Like, okay, I'm like, what the fuck, girl? It was just so frustrating. Like, it's frustrating things like that it's meant to raise the stakes and give us this cliffhanger, but it's just so frustrating. I don't know. It's just at the end of the day, I just had so many. Some of the science and stuff was like cool. Some of the techno babble, I kind of like that, but between like how overly smart some people are and how overly dumb some people are, I don't know. I was frustrated.
Yeah, to speak to your commander or colonel or whatever her title is, Nadoye, I think that she was second guessing her earlier decision to support Tarka and Book because they were making progress on the communication front, which she didn't agree with and think that it was viable in order to make a difference in all of this. So I think that that's where her trepidation came from in making that call and giving the information to Tarka. Well, she didn't know it was Tarka. She thinks it's Book, actually.
Well, I don't even think she really, because when Book and Tarka told her that she had to sabotage the ship, basically, she showed a little bit of hesitation, but I don't really think that because she was there as they were kind of making progress. I don't think that after that she showed much hesitation. Personally, I need to rewatch the episode, I guess, but I didn't really feel there's much hesitation before she decided to vent the plasma or whatever it was. I don't think it took that much. It didn't take that much to convince her to like take action, which I thought was just dubious, but whatever.
Yeah, the other thing that my thought process about this is, and you explained it really well, like alien contact and all of that, and Arrival, or a much earlier film in the 1980s was Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So along the same way, same thing, that the drama is how figuring out first contact, it plays on people's emotions and nerves, and the stakes are high and the tension is high. And I think this highlights the thing that we've talked about in Discovery before. Like we're taking this slow boat to China, to use the expression, to get there, or we're taking the slow boat. The what?
Is that an expression? The slow boat to China?
Yeah, slow boat to China. I think I apologize if that's offensive. I don't know if
I'm not offended. I'm Chinese. I'm fine. You're fine then, because I'm your audience.
But we're taking the slow boat to get to species 10C, right? And then we have 45 minutes to wrap it all up. And
it's just so annoying.
They do this every year. They take us slowly towards the climax, and then the climax takes 3 seconds and we're done. And it's really frustrating to when you point out something which I think is really valid, like the tension and the stress of first contact would actually be a really great experience to see through Star Trek's lenses.
Right.
And you could have drama and interpersonal drama in that way, and have that fulfill kind of Discovery's purpose of being a dramatic, emotional show, right?
Mm-hmm. Because there were a lot of episodes that I feel could have been condensed, honestly, or cut from this.
Oh, season. Absolutely. No, I think that this was again that just we took forever to get here, and now all of a sudden we got here, and we have to rush to finish it, to finish the season. And I think that that's kind of the problem with Discovery in general, is that it does this. It builds things up, and you sort of lose momentum because you're taking so much time in doing this, and you raise the stakes, but you don't raise the stakes in a way that is meaningful. I don't think you sort of do them little by little. Like, I think,
well, I think that's the issue.
You could have raised the Ndoye's betrayal to a higher stakes. Right. You could have, the only stakes that we're really seeing that are impacted right now are Jet Reno and Book, who, quite honestly, are probably going to be victims of Tarka's mission, and we're gonna book ship and I have no idea about this finale, but my thought is that they're gonna have to destroy those ships, and I don't know that we're gonna get our people back, and to lose Book, we talked about it, there's got to be some loss that Michael needs to experience in order to grow and become the next level captain that she is meant to be. I think I think, and thinking about that even more, like, we're killing 2 minority cast members. We're killing, David Ajala, potentially.
Well, let's not. We don't know that.
We don't know. Yes,
you're theorizing.
I'm theorizing, but we're gonna kill, a lesbian and a black man on a ship because of maybe because of a psychopathic white guy. And that's I don't know. I don't think
I doubt that we're gonna lose both of them. I think that Jet Reno is most likely gonna survive. Honestly, she was one of the best things about this episode.
I agree. Yes,
I'm glad she had more. She had more to do. Usually, she's just there for some humor, but she actually legit was able to kind of figure out what Tarka was doing and actually take action, and was able to be more proactive than usual. So I did like that. Book is just so dumb. I'm just so fucking over Book. He just let his emotions cloud his judgment and all that shit, and I'm just like, my God, you're so dumb. Like, whatever. He
kind of cleared the path, and then he's suddenly lost again. I don't know, I feel like his character has really gotten lost in these last few episodes,
and he just makes the same mistakes over and over. He doesn't learn. It's just very frustrating and I complain about this a lot in our last episode, our last recording, but he just didn't learn and just allow Tarka to kind of do the same, fuck him over again.
Yeah, and this is what happens this time.
To the shock of no one, but it's so frustrating to see it.
Yeah, going back to the storytelling a little bit too, I think that the fact that Paul says in engineering, he says, I've been looking for Jet, and I haven't been able to find her. I could use her help. Like, if you're looking for someone on a ship like Discovery, you would ask the computer where they are, and you would find them. She's, So this is another example of lazy storytelling where they're forgetting, kind of Starfleet protocols that would normally be in effect that would solve for these problems, and they're sort of ignoring the protocols to solve for the story, and I have a real problem with that.
She's a commander that is missing. She's not showing up for her duty shifts. The lead engineer can't find her. Is that not a red flag? Even if Zora is like, she's in engineering, I'm kind of like, no one sees this woman,
right?
And that's another thing, is that I feel that some of the major cast members, I know we're talking about how Tilly's been basically missing, and it's kind of weird that she's just been MIA until the finale. It's like, I feel that Stamets and Culber, and I'm trying to, I think it's mainly the two of them have just gotten a lot less to do this season. Like, Culber towards the beginning had a little more to do, with some of the counseling, and then he had some issues, but I'm not sure that really hasn't gone anywhere. Some of his own problems and some of his own tiredness has been brought up, but I don't know where that's going. I don't know if you're getting it. It's like, it's the same, he brings it up once in a while, but it's not, there's no solving, there's no solution in sight. He hasn't made any progress. Meanwhile, Stamets, I feel, has towards the beginning, he had more to do when he was trying to problem solve the DMA, but I feel like a quarter into the season, he just has had a lot less to do.
Well, halfway through the season, we get Zora, which becomes like an additional crew member who does a lot of the work for him,
True.
so,
Yeah.
that's where his workload kind of goes and into a
Yeah, now
computer.
I was just like,
So,
yeah, he's like searching for this lost engineer. And basically
yes.
it's like contributes ultimately nothing because whatever.
Yeah. So, I just think that there's some storytelling
I
issues
think
with
balance
Discovery.
issues. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Between the story, the pacing, some of the balance between characters. It's frustrating when you have characters just make such dumb, obvious decisions that is really for the sake of suspense and spectacle versus would they really make that kind of call? Things like that. It's just so
Well, also
frustrating.
ignoring the in-universe rules, right? You create a world or universe that has certain rules and protocols, and then you ignore them. And I think that
Or like you have a
have,
deck that's entirely empty, and that what we're
yeah,
saying last episode, it doesn't make
exactly.
any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
and illegal, illicit communications going on between Book slash Tarka and Nadoye and all
Oh yeah,
these
and
other
how
things that
did Book have the command codes for the Discovery?
I don't remember, to be honest. I have no idea.
Yeah, because
So
he gave Nadoye the command code so that Nadoye could vent the plasma. I was like, wait, how does Book? Because he literally was like, I'm going to send you command codes, and I was like, how does he have the command codes for the Discovery? He was never even a crew member. He was a consultant. He wouldn't have the command codes.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, there's just a lot of little things. I think it's really disappointing. For me, it's the in universe rules and just the situations that the writers are putting into play that really wouldn't happen if we're really talking about like a Starfleet starship. So, and we're just kind of writing ourselves around those things to tell a story, which is taking forever to get to it. And then the most interesting part, which could be the, learning how to communicate with species 10C. I mean, the bubble that they create and the four people, Saru and Michael and the president.
That was
And
very Arrival, by the way. I don't know if you remember. Same thing happens in
I don't
Arrival.
remember Arrival, but I could see how it pulls from that. Who is the fourth one in that one in there? Tarina, right? Tarina.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, I thought that was a moving kind of situation and interesting. And so I think that we could have built on that drama and that figuring out. And also outside the crew wondering, where did they go? When are they going to come back? It's been hours. And, just this length of time, which would play upon, Commander Reese, who's probably in command right now, and things like that. Like, what do we do? Time is running out, that sort of thing. Like, increase the drama that way. And so there's just a lot of things that I'm really, struggling with in this season. And
then we were also talking about this before we started recording, but Tarka, I just don't understand what we're supposed to be thinking about Tarka, especially given 2 episodes ago, we had this whole, basically half the episode dedicated to his sob story. And that wasn't even that revelatory. And now, he's just like this one-dimensional villain. He's willing to basically commit genocide and screw Earth over just to get back to his lover. And I'm like, is he supposed to be sympathetic? What are we supposed to be feeling about him? Is he really just like this Bond villain that is willing to do whatever it takes to get to his end game? He's just like, I don't really know at the end of the day what we're supposed to do with Tarka's character. I know you have a lot of issues with Tarka because he's a bully, but even from a more objective viewpoint, I don't really know what. Even Osira, I thought, Osira was also kind of one-dimensional, but I thought she was actually more interesting. Like, she had a lot more complexity to her. She wanted it to, in last season, she wanted to make peace with the Federation. Even if it was self-centered, you could see that she was trying to do something different and change things. Even, yes, if she is selfish. Like, it actually was this interesting gray area that I thought was kind of cool about Osira, even though at the end she kind of just ended up being kind of like this villain that you kill.
I would actually rather watch that scene between Osira and Dadmiral.
Yeah, Vance. Yeah, no,
I'd rather watch that than.
That was one of our favorite episodes last season. It was just, there was like a little bit of a chess game, and you trying to figure out like, what does she really want?
Yeah.
Versus Tarka, where I feel like I don't really, at the end of the day, he's probably gonna be killed off next episode. but I just don't really know at the end of the day what we're supposed to take from his character, because ultimately he really does just seem to be very one-dimensional.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I don't like him, and I'm not going to get into that because I'd rather
yes.
Rather move on from that. But yeah,
But even as a character, I just don't really know.
Yeah, no,
obviously
I
every
think,
character has shortfalls, but it's just like, all right, so I don't, what else we get out of him?
I think there's been an unevenness in this season of character development, and really, like it's just there's got to be there's something just not in the right place for the writing of Discovery. It's I don't I feel like they've sort of lost their way a little bit. They've done these long season arcs that with this big baddie, but the big baddie is actually now just Tarka, and we have an alien species which we can communicate with, which is fairly interesting how they figured that out. I mean, granted, yes, it was quick, and I agree with you on that. It could have been drawn out for much better drama and a lot more interesting conversations and things happening around that versus what we've got. And I think I'm going to find the finale. I'm going into it very ho hum about it. I'm not going to be surprised by anything that comes in the finale. I'm probably just going to be glad that this season is over and hope that some semblance of the world returning to normal will impact the writing of Discovery for next season. Also, the next time, the next season's only 10 episodes, so maybe that'll pull it together a little bit differently. But I'm sad. I'm really sad and disappointed to say that I'm just not invested in Discovery as a show as much anymore. And especially when we've got Picard, which is incredible drama and great writing and great characters. And so, and this is not I like Michael Burnham. I love Sonequa Martin Green. I love, Paul and Hugh and Adira. I love all of them. And Doug Jones. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can't remember if Doug Jones is going to be in Chicago. I hope he is, because I would love to meet him in person.
That's right. That is news. We bought our tickets finally.
Oh yeah, we did.
You're welcome, listeners.
Yes, we'll be in Chicago.
Yes, we finally pulled the trigger. It took months, but we finally booked our plane tickets, the hotel, and the convention tickets.
Yes,
it happened.
It's happening.
It was like
so maybe Doug Jones will be there to meet. That'll be great. But anyway, they just have such incredible cast members, and I just think that the writing is doing them all a disservice, or most of them a disservice, including the secondary cast. The bridge crew. We've all gotten forced glimpses of their life. Or their past rather, and so that's been how it's been done is mostly been negative. That we are learning about the additional cast members is positive, but I just don't think that, again, it falls down to the writing. And I honestly will watch the new episode of Picard before I watch the Discovery finale tomorrow or this weekend. I didn't even rush to watch last week's episode. I think I watched it on Saturday.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I had work was crazy last week and everything, but I'm just kind of I'm disappointed, and it's not because of the actors. It really isn't. I really do like the people who are on this cast, and all of them actually, except for Tarka. And I think that they're just not getting the stuff that they deserve as actors. And you and I talked a little bit offline about this. I don't know where that, I don't know at whose feet that lie. It's
the writer's room.
It is the writer's room.
It's not one writer. It's not one person.
No, I know. But there is someone, there's an executive producer or someone in charge of that writer's room. And I just don't think that it's going well. And but anyway, it frustrates me to talk negatively about Star Trek in this way, but I've been really
Yeah, I'm
disappointed
usually
with
the
this
one that is
season.
more critical.
So yeah, even though I enjoyed, again, the other thing too is, making Zora an actual character that people are talking to. I can't imagine that
It's not really working for
how
me.
that, for as an actor, how how you spend all day learning your lines to talk to the air and do a solo scene. That's just not I don't know.
They might
There's
be
just
like, someone might be saying the lines, saying
Oh,
Zora's
I'm
lines
sure
off
there is.
screen. It has to
Maybe
be.
even the actor who voices Zora is there. That's fine, but it's just, not to have a face-to-face person to talk to in some of these scenes is just, the same thing that happened with Ian Alexander and in their new lounge, we talking to Zora, talking to Air because, Ian didn't have, Gray didn't have any responsibilities on the ship, so he's just helping Zora out with the Trill game. So, it's just these little, yeah, there's just so much. And frankly, I'm just tired of talking about it. So,
Yeah, it's like just so when we talk about the secondary characters, I was actually totally thinking about this again when we are again comparing it to one of our favorite Star Trek shows, which is DS9, which did such an amazing job bringing these secondary and tertiary characters and developing them so well. Like Kai Wynn, I was thinking about this. Kai Wynn only appears in 14 episodes out of 176 episodes of DS9, and that's like less than 10% of the episodes. Yet she is like one of the most interesting and colorful villains of Deep Space Nine.
oh, and I mean, I hate her. Oh,
But she's so interesting.
Yeah, she is.
So
Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. That's a
she's
great
so
point.
complex,
Yeah.
but she appears in less than 10% of all DSN's episodes, yet she makes such an impact. And it's, obviously we're dealing with like, different show, different time. They don't have like 26 episodes to work with, but they could do such a better job of like trying to flesh out these secondary cast members. And instead we get like, a 2-minute like monologue or whatever.
In the middle of a red alert.
Middle of like a random scene. And it's just like it's just not well done.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think that's enough about Discovery.
That is enough about
else?
Discovery. Everyone's just complaining.
Yeah. Yes.
So.
Let's get to Picard, which we have a much better feeling about and are enjoying this much better. I've watched Picard's second episode.
You watched
Penance. I've watched it 3 times, yes, and I would go back and watch it a 4th. That's how much I love this episode and love this show.
What's going on with you today, Annika? I've half a mind to have you tested for telepathic incursion.
How dare you even suggest?
This was all my fault, Mr. First Husband, sir. The Borg Queen was claiming that Romulans had infiltrated the palace with spies from a little-known sect called the Kawat Malat, or Final Stranglers, as they were known in the North. And I postulated it wasn't true, but I didn't have any proof until I saw that Picard had apprehended a Romulan. So out of an abundance of caution, I sent a coded message to my old drinking pal, the President, a.k.a. Annika Seven Shot. It's a funny story. It's for another time. Wow. So that I could test my hypothesis, which we just did. There was a lot of screaming. Did you hear it? Anyway, it turns out the Queen was totally lying in a typical weaker-than-thou species bargaining for her life kind of strategy. And so she's off, going to be beheaded or whatever, and basically, as you were.
But I've talked a lot about my feelings. You've listened to me on Discovering Trek.
Yes.
So you know my feelings. You said you had a lot of different thoughts than the crew of Discovering Trek does. So I'm going to throw
different thoughts. I just had some different points to make, but I would want you to reiterate some of your feelings about this episode.
Sure, I will.
I'm really liking Picard this season. I think that the pacing is really well done. I think the reset that we talked about last week is working really well for our characters, and I think that just overall, it feels like a very tight season. I hope they keep up the pace. And one thing that I really liked a lot about this episode is literally every character got a chance to do something and shine. that was one thing that I think was really great. Even Elnor's like not my favorite character because honestly, I don't think he has much of a personality because he's more of like a surrogate son slash little brother for most of our characters, and he kind of serves more as kind of like a complementary character, if that makes sense. But even he had a great action scene. He got to do stuff. He got to like bounce off of Rafi in particular, and I was like, okay, I don't mind. Elnor has, he's doing more this season versus last season where he was kind of like just to me, he was kind of just a crybaby, but whatever. So I just think that everyone kind of had their moment, and obviously some had more than others, but I really liked Rafi in this episode. I thought she was really good at like thinking on her feet. Seven, of course, really great scenes with her, and Jurati was definitely a big star for me, and I'm concerned. I will express a little bit of concern as to where she might be headed this season. I'm concerned that she's going to go down a similar path as last season, where she started out great, but then she got manipulated, and she ended up being like, she was put in a bad spot, and then she got annoying because of that. I feel that they're setting her up to have a similar kind of situation with the Borg Queen. They're like hinting at there's some deeper issues with her, and there are these glances between her and the Borg Queen, and we've seen from the trailers that they obviously have moments together that seem very dangerous. I don't know. I don't think she's going to get straight up assimilated, but I think she's going to get influenced somehow by the Borg Queen, and I'm a little bit concerned that we're going to walk down the same path with her. But right now, I'm kind of just enjoying her character. I think that she's so funny. She's very Tilly-like. We've already talked about that, but she just has these great moments of levity. Like literally, I rewatched the episode today, and the moment when she's just kind of spitballing, when the magistrate is like, "What the fuck are y'all doing here?" and she just goes off on like some excuse.
I love that scene so much.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, I honestly, if I was in the room while she was acting it out, I would just like burst out laughing because it's so ridiculous.
But it's so good, and I think where you would have laughed, I would have just had my mouth open catching flies because I would be like so amazed that she got that all out. It looks like one take. I'm sure she had to do it several times, but
she might do a couple. But it's so good. It's so good. She does it so well.
So good. So I'm really happy.
Yeah, I'm hoping that she stays like that, but I feel that there's a darker path for her this season again, which I'm concerned about, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what were some of the stand-ups for you?
Well, definitely Jurati, definitely Seven. I really have to say that Jeri Ryan is a great actress, and she really played this role, waking up in a different timeline and maintaining her composure, doing the Borg checks of all of her senses to see if this was real or if this was some sort of dream or holodeck or something. But she also slid right into the role of president, especially around her husband.
Yeah.
And knew to take power when she needed to.
Right.
I need privacy, I need some coffee, and that's it. And and also putting the magistrate in his place when he questioned her. She got right back in his face and put him in his place, which I think was great.
Yeah, that was a little bit, I think she did it well, but at the same time, when I was rewatching it, I was like, how likely is it that she is able to nail down and understand their dynamic as husband and wife? Like that's a little bit, even like even how she referred to him as like, I don't think she called him like honey or anything like that, but like
no, it's just a deer. They use deer. They both use deer.
I'm like, oh, like like how does she know like exact? I mean, obviously he was suspect. He was like, he was like a little bit dubious about like her, and he was like, are you being mentally manipulated at some point? Like, So obviously she didn't totally pull it off, but it was enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Also,
no, but I thought she was great. She was great.
Yeah. I also really enjoyed the first part of the episode where Q and Picard are going at it. A lot of a really great dynamic there.
And we talked about this last week, but the fact that Q slaps Picard, that definitely is an indication that something's off, because he would never do that.
Right.
He would never get physical.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Do you have any theories as to what the deal is with Q?
Yeah, I do. I think I shared this on Discovering Trek, but
Oh, did you?
No, you might not have gotten to predictions. That's totally fine. No, my thought is that and Picard Q sort of says this to Picard, not in so many words, but he's like trying to teach him a lesson that he has not learned. Mm-hmm. And based upon that, and based upon the conversation he had with Guinan, I think the idea is that Picard has never really followed his heart and his feelings, and that is what Q is here to teach him, is this level of love and compassion, and a different kind of love that he may have from what he had for his crews previously, whether it's the Stargazer or the Enterprise. But I think that what's going to happen is that eventually Picard will reunite with Laris. There'll be that love connection. And then Q is going to come back and say, now that you get that, now that you got it, I need your help. And I think that what that's going to teach Picard is to have compassion even for and love for Q of some sort, like some indebtedness to Q, and Q needs some help.
But what do you think might be going on with Q that he's like off, or what he needs help with? Because that part is hard for me to fathom. Like, what would an omnipotent entity need from Picard? Because the most that we've gotten from their relationship is he just, other than the one time in Deja Q, whatever the one where he loses his powers and he had to rely on the kindness of the Enterprise D crew.
Right.
He hasn't. And then there was also the episode of Voyager where he needed Janeway and crew to intercept because there was civil war in the Q continuum. Other than that, he hasn't really needed help from humans in any way. So I'm just like, what is the setup here where he needs Picard? Sure. I think
your Civil War thing is possibly on point. I think that maybe the Civil War continued or stopped for a while and then continued. And I think that perhaps the Q are actually killing each other. And eventually they're getting down to the point where there's so few of them left that they're trying to save their species. Perhaps even Q is in a corner where he's grossly outnumbered and needs to be saved himself somehow. Or they've used so much of their power to fight this battle that they're all like their power is somehow extinguishing and he's dying in that way, and that who knows. But those are some of my thoughts.
That's why I'm asking you what are your theories, because I do think it would be interesting if there was some sort of I mean, the Civil War was resolved and then Q had a child or whatever with the female Q, but I think that was the last time we saw him on Voyager. But I do wonder.
I think there's going to be some quid pro quo involved with Q and
he's definitely manipulating Picard for a reason. He wants, as always, he wants Picard to learn something and get something out of this. And I'm sure he knows that Picard has this trauma / he there's like something he can't get over, or something he needs to figure out.
That's my other theory too. So speaking of Picard's trauma, I think that with that universe break that happens where the Borg ship comes through, that those memories of his childhood are from the childhood of his counterpart in this other universe or this other timeline or whatever you want to call it, because it's technically, according to the Queen, it's still their universe, it's still their timeline. It's just that something was changed, and I'm thinking that at some point that trauma happened to the kid Picard because of that change, and therefore he's remembering it as sort of a secondary thing. Because I think the thing that really stands out for me is this whole Borg tie-in, and the fact that, you know, we've seen in very quick glimpse his mother being dragged away, and the only species that we've ever seen do that is the Borg dragging people away like that. We saw that a lot in First Contact. So I think that in that particular timeline, that's also why he wants to be the Borg Slayer.
So wait, so I'm confused. So what is the origin of Prime Picard's inability to let love in? Or are you saying there's not, or is it
No, I think, I don't know what his, like, our 2400 Picard's specific issue is necessarily, but I'm saying these remembrances of his childhood trauma with his mom, I think when whatever Q changed in the timeline happened, these memories started flooding his mind, and that trauma is just being revisited. I don't necessarily think that trauma is associated with why Picard can't love Laris. I don't think that that's necessarily. I think we're making a correlation there. I don't necessarily think there is a correlation there.
Okay, it's possible. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, my only rebuttal to that would be that the way that we set up the premiere, especially his conversation with Guinan, where he's like unable to, because when Guinan straight up asks him like, why are you like this, he's unable to articulate it. I feel that is setting up this mystery as to why Picard is built this way. So I mean, it's I think what you're saying is totally possible. But I feel that at the same time, we are being set up with asking, why is Picard, Prime 2401 Picard, this way? Which I think that we need to explore somehow, some way. Maybe what you're saying, maybe it's some sort of red herring. But I do think that, you know, just the fact that he's unable to even speak to and reveal to one of his closest friends why he has this wall around his heart is something that needs to be revealed in some way.
Well, I think that part of that story with his mom, her being torn away by, let's just say, for the Borg, for the lack of a better reason, for that one, that 2-second scene we saw, 2-second flashback. But then there's all the fighting between his mother and father, and so when you're young, you see that fighting between your parents. It can drive you to not want to build a relationship or to go down that path of getting married to someone or becoming, emotionally close to someone in that kind of, because the only example of a relationship you've seen is two fighting divorced parents, or whatever. However, in reality, their relationship, his parents' relationship ended or lived on until his mom passed away or whatever. However, all that plays out. But I think that that's that's a very typical, example of psychology of people who necessarily don't want to get married.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
So I think that's more like, I think we're almost overthinking it a little bit now that I'm talking.
But you're positing that this flashback that we got is actually not Prime Picard's experience, but rather Alt Picard's experience.
Yeah, you can't. So the one thing that is, when you ask me that question, that's throwing me off. There is only Prime Picard here. So what the Borg Queen has established is that this is the history that they find themselves in is their own history. It's just because it's changed and been changed in the past. So this isn't necessarily a separate timeline. This is the timeline. Because Q went back and changed one little thing, and that created I'm
calling it Alt Picard because I'm treating it as like a alternate universe. I know it's not. I know they made that distinction, but honestly, come on, give me a fucking break. It's basically like it's an altered timeline.
Yeah, sure.
Really
So that's Alt. I think that's Alt Picard's trauma, not necessarily our Picard's trauma.
That's interesting theory.
So that's sort of what I think about that. So yeah, so I enjoyed the back and forth with Picard. I thought, like I said in Discovering Trek, I think that the set decoration and the work that the property master did for this episode was amazing.
It's fine. Yeah,
You
I thought it was
know, I
good.
thought the redress of Picard's study was phenomenal. It was very Lorca-like. I also really enjoyed the redress of the Disney
Disney,
concert
whatever
hall.
hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. Yeah, one thing that you because you brought up Lorca, one thing that you and I talked about when we were watching the second episode live that we didn't totally agree on is this universe definitely screams mirror universe to me, in many, many ways. And to a point where I am kind of actually slightly distracted by it. It's not bad. It's just like I felt it's been done between the humans having superiority, subjugating other races. That's definitely been, especially in Discovery, we saw a lot of that with Philippa, and we were told that she subjugated like Vulcan and Doria and Kronos, like, is very similar. And then the whole skull scene, which I think was also very effective. We also got something similar with Giorgio when, in what's that episode called? Vaulting Ambition, one of my favorite episode names. We have her treating the Kelpians as slaves, but then also as food. Remember, like she was eating their ganglia. Like I feel there was a lot of mirror universe vibes for me in this world, like human superiority over other races, enslaving and eliminating other races, eating other races. There's a lot of that for me in this.
Yeah, I hear you. I did not feel like this was a lot of a kind of a redo of the mirror universe. I felt like this was sort of another multiverse, universe that were another alt timeline that doesn't result in the mirror universe, but it's still a dark place where humanity.
Yeah, it's just more the subjugation, the fact where they're subjugating other races, and this xenophobic Terran superiority is very Terran Empire for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. No, I can understand how you get that vibe. I chose to either ignore that or just believe that this was an alternate timeline. That's just how I viewed it. So I didn't really get bothered by it because there was no real callbacks to the mirror universe.
You mean except
all...
when
no,
like
it was
in
all...
a mirror darkly? Yesterday's Enterprise.
No. I mean, it's like none of the dressings. Like it was all rethought of in a different way. I'm not saying that tonally it doesn't reek of mirror universe. I'm saying that the way that they look and the way that they dress, the symbols and things like that. That's all different.
It's very
it's very totalitarianism. It's very
Well, even the colors though, the red and the black. That's very like Nazi Germany.
Sure.
For, like very strongly that color scheme, and then the emblem, which I'm sure Fansets is going to have a field day with their emblem, did remind me a little bit of the Terran Empire's insignia as well. So, yeah. So now I actually am enjoying it. I was just like, oh, it doesn't really feel original like that. But, like it wasn't like I had an issue with it. It was just, I feel like we've been down this like, dystopian, like human superiority kind of like path before, personally. So
okay. Yeah.
What did you think about Annie Wershing as the Borg Queen?
I think she did a fine job. It's always a little disconcerting. I mean, this is the third or fourth Borg Queen, so it's fine. I think she's doing a great job. That I've heard a lot of good things about her, the actor who plays the Borg Queen. So I think it's good. It's creepy enough. It's different. It's it's fine.
Did you ever watch 24? Like, were you ever a fan?
No, early seasons. So
okay.
But I don't. Yeah, not the later seasons so much. I
she
was definitely.
Sorry,
she's in something else too. No, she's in something else more recent too, for sure.
I only know her from 24, and she was like in some of the later seasons, like 7, 8, I think 7, 8, 9, or whatever. She's a really talented actress. I actually really like her. And one of the things I really liked about her character on 24 is that she can play this really fierce character, but you can still sense this kind of like vulnerability underneath that fierceness. I feel that she brings some of that into her Borg Queen portrayal, where obviously as a Borg Queen, she has this like front, but you can also tell that this is a very different Borg Queen because she's alone. And I could see some of that subtlety in her performance. I really like that. So I'm sure we're going to see more of it, but she's actually a very talented actress. And yeah, I feel like they're really setting up this like thing between her and Jurati, and we'll see where it goes. But it's interesting that the Borg Queen is honed in on Jurati a little bit and kind of
that is interesting.
And kind of pinpoints Jurati's loneliness. And I think that is something that the Borg Queen is going to be exploiting.
Okay. That's an interesting prediction. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I hope it's not a retread of last season. But the other thing that I want to call out about this episode is I really loved Raffi in it. I thought she did a phenomenal job. I also really liked her and Elnor's relationship. You know, the adoptive mother, the surrogate son. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really endearing. It was actually one of the better parts of the episode for me.
Okay. Yeah, it's fine. For me. I'm like, it's fine.
No, I mean, it just hit me. It just hit me in a way that I really enjoyed it and felt emotionally attached to both of them. And so,
I don't know if I feel that. Like, even when Elnor got shot, I was like, oh, well.
I definitely I feel I'm worried about Elnor. I'm worried about how that's going to impact Raffi.
I mean, haven't we seen? I mean, it it looks like he's in a bad place, but haven't we seen trailers of him on 2024 Earth? Have we seen?
I don't remember
Because I feel like we do. So, and also like time travel stuff. I'm like, all right, whatever. Is he going to be fine? Whatever.
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure we see him on 2022.
2024.
2024. What year are we in? 2024 Earth. I'm pretty sure we see.
We'll hopefully find out tomorrow. That's actually one of the first things I'm gonna do tomorrow is hopefully watch Picard, because that's what I'm more interested in, and looking forward to it. And this is so far 2 great episodes back to back. And 2 very strong episodes with a strong focus on characters, on action, but it's also just I really do love this crew and this cast that they've put together. They're all phenomenal. So including the magistrate, who you kind of love to hate. I mean, he's kind of
I thought he's fine. I didn't really love him or hate him, actually.
No. Well,
I didn't have too many feelings about him.
There we go.
He was fine. I think he served a purpose. So
he did.
And when it comes to the whole, I mean, there are quite a few fan theories about this, the whole Adam Soong situation. Do you have any thoughts about all that and what is going to be the event in 2024 that kind of brings us down a certain path of history?
I don't have any original thoughts on that. No, I did not pick up on that in the episode. Other people shared about that, and so now I know about it, but I don't really have I don't have any real original thoughts on it other than what's been said. So to me, it's a great way to keep Brent Spiner in the loop,
right? Of course.
So
without having to give him heavy CG/makeup.
Yeah, exactly. So and also give him give his acting chops a spin as well outside of Data. So I think that's good. Obviously, we've seen the scene with him and Q, and Q gives him some
sort of vial, right?
Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. Yeah, I don't really. It didn't stand out to me. It still doesn't stand out to me. I mean, people have talked about it, so I'm just whatever kind of comes. I obviously the Harveys of the world are there, and
What?
Harveys are those robots that
the
that went
androids.
berserk in Mars, you know. So
Right.
so the synths, so they're everywhere. So there's that, and yeah. But for me, it's, you know, that's sort of like a, I don't know, a side story, not really that.
Even though it's like, even though it's like the point in time that they're going to have to go back, and I'm sure they're gonna have to like figure out like what is it that causes humanity to go down this dark path.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
So my only theory, I actually just thought of this yesterday, and I have no idea if it's being discussed in the general Star Trek discourse. But between Adam Sung and what we see in the trailers, my theory is that first contact happens too early in 2024 because we see Vulcans on Earth
Or Romulans.
or Romulans. True. I need to rewatch that scene. But my theory is that first contact goes horribly wrong in around that age, around that time, and Adam Sung's involved in that somehow, and Q instigates it somehow. And it causes humanity to realize A, that they're aliens, and B, they all need to be killed or destroyed. So I think
interesting.
Yeah,
I think theory.
Yeah, I think that would make some sort of sense.
Yeah.
And maybe Adam Sung is the one that he's either martyred or he somehow reveals that these Vulcan/Romulans are there for some nefarious purpose when they're actually not. And that sort of sets the catalyst somehow.
Okay, that's an interesting theory. I'm excited to see how that plays out now.
Yeah. So, but that would explain, like, the whole xenophobic, aspect of where we see humanity in this timeline.
I mean, we're xenophobic of one another in 2022. So, I mean, of other.
But that would be, I think one of the things that would unite humanity is discovering some sort of outside threat like that.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
And it would cause us to get over our differences, but then unite us in a way that would make us hate everyone else.
Yeah, sure.
Nothing like some sort of clear and present danger to make people band together,
Right. So, any thoughts really quickly as we kind of wrap up on The Watcher?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No clue.
All right.
I know there are some theories about it, but I don't feel we have enough information to say anything about that.
Cool. Well, episode 3 drops tomorrow, and like I said, I'm gonna watch that well before I watch the Discovery finale.
I kind of want to watch the Discovery finale, just kind of almost like get it over with.
Yeah,
kind of just all right, we're done.
Yeah, I will watch it because I'll try to stay off Twitter and social media before I get spoiled on anything. But I guess I will, probably watch it tomorrow.
I will.
All right.
Try to watch it tomorrow. Oh, busy.
You're busy social schedule.
I mean, between work and social stuff, it's hard. It's a hard life, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's rough being the social animal that you are.
It's rough. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I guess that does it for this episode. I'm sure we can talk even more, but you're sick and you go to bed.
Yes.
But Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about our sponsor?
Absolutely. Fansets is the exclusive sponsor of this Trek Geeks podcast network and of Deep Space Pride. And the Fansets team just released 3 new pins yesterday, 3 new micro pins from 3 different series. So we have the Lower Decks Cetacean Ops Lieutenant Junior Grade Matt. We have the Discovery Adira from the Earth Force. And from Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, we have Loxana Troy. So 3 new micro pins, as well as the title pins of Picard and Lower Decks that were released earlier this month. So head on over to Fansets. Star Trek is not the only fanfic or fandom that's the word I'm looking for. Fandom
series.
series, that fandom and series that they do pins for. So there's Batman 66, there's DC Comics, there's Harry Potter and the Justice League, and so many others, Picard and Star Trek and Super Friends, all of these things. So head on over, check them out at fansets.com, put a bunch of pins in there, including their amazing Delta collections. And as we've talked a little bit about this episode, there are so many new pins that I bet the Fansets team is working on from just the second episode of Picard.
Oh yeah,
that we'll get to see.
They need the Confederation pins.
Yeah, there's the Confederation President's pin. There is the pin that Picard is wearing in his portrait.
Are you talking about the big Delta, the giant Delta?
Yeah, sort of the Wrath of Khan type Delta, which.
Oh yeah, the portrait one. Yes, it's
in the portrait.
But then they have like the giant ones that can like also like slit your throat.
Yes. Oh yes. And then there are the 2400 deltas that everyone is wearing that operate as
they're really big. They're like massive.
They are really big.
They're a little too big. They're a little too large.
Yeah, so they seem grossly oversized, yes, but I guess if you're going to double them as a weapon, then sure. The bigger the better. So anyway, head on over to Fansets, put a bunch of pins, stay up to date with them through their social media and through us and all of the Trek Geeks podcast and member podcasts. And put a bunch of pins in your cart. If you spend more than $30, you'll get free shipping in the US. And if you put the code DSPride into the promo codes, you're going to get a 10% off. What's that?
All caps.
All caps. DS Pride, all caps. Yes. You're going to get 10% off your order. And we want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Fansets for being our exclusive sponsor and the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
Have you bought any pins lately, Mike?
I've not. I am waiting to.
Are we in for Chicago?
Yeah. And they're coming out with some exclusive some new pins that they're going to launch at Chicago. So the April pins will actually hold off until Chicago, and then whatever is left over from what they don't sell in Chicago will go on the website. So definitely follow through there. But yes, they have some really cool pins coming out that I will pick up in Chicago.
Thanks, Fansets. Cool. All right.
Johnson, tell our listeners how they can get in touch with us.
Yes. Well, first off, I did this last week. For those listeners that do enjoy this podcast, and only if you enjoy it up to a 5-star rating, we would love for you to leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice and let us know what you think. Through email and social media. Through social media, you can contact us on Twitter and Instagram at @DSpacePride, and you can also email us at dspacepride@gmail.com.
Great. Well, tomorrow's a big day in Star Trek land. Lots of new Trek to watch.
A lot of Star Trek, yeah.
And we will be back here next week to talk about that and any other news that, and we'll share a little bit more detail about Chicago, maybe. Maybe there'll be some news on Chicago, but we'll talk a little bit more.
I mean, they are adding guests at a glacial pace. That's one thing that I can tell you.
But right. So maybe the glacier will move a little bit further along by next week.
It's oh my God. It's like Vegas, they're like adding people like every day and they're not afraid to announce it. Meanwhile, Chicago, I don't know what the fuck is going on with them. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be there.
We're going to be there. We're not going to Vegas. We are going to Chicago. So
we are. That's right. Yes.
Hopefully it's the right choice.
Yes, indeed. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.